Hey folks, welcome back. Welcome to another episode of Get Good. Today we have Mr. Tom Parker here with us to talk about accessible travel. This will be part 3 of our accessible travel series. So we are going to be starting in 5 minutes. So the usual stuff, please like our video, subscribe our channel, and if you're watching a recording of this, please fast forward to the 5th minute mark. And for those who are waiting for us, joining us live, we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Thanks for waiting. We'll be right back. Okay. We have 15 seconds. 10 seconds. All right, here we go. Tom, welcome to the show again. Welcome to part 3 of Accessible Travel. So, folks, just before we start, I just want to let you know that if you have any question at any time, feel free to put it in chat. Tom and I here will try our best to answer your questions. So, Tom, you've been to many countries. Today, which 2 countries are we gonna focus on today?
I think we have some particular photographs of Panama, and are we going to go to
Hawaii?
Sorry, Hawaii and Panama.
Yeah, Hawaii and Panama. Yes, we have some beautiful pictures here to show you, and some of the pictures are directly related to the topic of accessibility and accessible travel. So stick around. So shall we get started, Tom?
Yes, please, Ian. I'm ready.
Right. So now this first picture that I'm showing seems like you're in this very narrow waterway, and I think you're on a cruise ship of some sort. So please tell us about that. What are we looking at?
We're looking over the bow of the cruise ship. On the left, you see the lock that we're in, and on the right, there is a parallel set of locks, and we'll be following that large red freighter through. This is a boat at very large size, similar to what we might see in English Bay. And you notice how closely it fits side to side in the lock. And both of our ships are being gradually raised up to the lake level, where we will exit and go across the mountain range.
So this is the legendary Panama Canal. So this is actually inside the canal.
Exactly.
Wow, interesting. Very nice. And so I understand that I'm gonna show the next slide regarding the raised track. There's some kind of vehicle that pulls the ship over to the next level. Right?
So you see the train tracks. And right in the middle of the photo, there's a small electric engine, which is not only moving the ship forward, but also ensuring that it stays within the clearance necessary so it doesn't rub on the side of the lock. And there's another engine on the other side of the ship, which is ensuring that it doesn't go too much to the left or right. And there's 2 engines at the back of the ship, because the engines of the ship itself cannot be controlled sufficiently accurately to avoid damaging the lock or the ship.
Interesting. So that little vehicle going up the little
in preparation for exiting into the next.
It's like a tugboat, right?
Yeah,
it's like a tugboat, but it's actually on land pulling
exactly.
the ship over to the next lock. That's fascinating engineering. So folks, just if you want to compare the scale within this picture, you can see there's a person walking near at the bottom of the picture.
Down by the White House there.
Yeah,
yes.
Down by the White House, that's right. And then that's on the right side, that the red ship is the actual height of the ship. So that's how big it is.
And it's about eye level with the deck on which the cruise ship I'm sitting on the same level.
So the next shot I have, it's I think this is the front of the ship. What do you call that? The front of the ship?
The bow.
The bow. Okay, sorry, I'm not familiar with these.
This is the cruise ship.
nautical terms, but
And
front. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. I see water in front of you. Where's that water coming from?
That's from the lake above us.
Okay.
And the gates which are blocking the bow of the ship will be open and allow the water to flow in and raise our ship up to the level of the lake.
Interesting.
Because this is a tropical country, there's a lot of rain, and this lake is a natural phenomenon in the middle of the Panama Peninsula, so that the water can be used to assist ships going up on one side of the lake and down on the other, and vice versa.
Very cool. So, folks, we will have a map for you in the next couple of slides. So stay tuned for that. But this is really brilliant engineering. Like, whoever thought of this idea that ships can travel on land through a watery canal, that's amazing. That's just brilliant engineering. So now, wasn't it some months ago there was another canal that had like a little blockage? I can't imagine how that can be done in a canal like this, because this one can only fit in one.
Well, the ship was stuck in the Suez Canal between locks. So it was in the open water, but it was so long and it was not properly steered, or the wind blew it off course and made it jam crossways on the lake. But luckily in the Panama Canal, the lake is very large. So that couldn't happen there.
Ah, interesting. It's good to experience this type of, going through the actual canal. That must be amazing. So the next shot I have, this seems very tight for ship this size going through this tiny narrow waterway.
So the ship is being pulled by that tugboat.
Very tight.
Like the ones we would see in Vancouver Harbor. It's pulling it at the same time as the locomotives on each side are being sure to keep it centered left to right in the lock, and the tugboat is pulling it into the lake. When it clears the lock, the tugboat will release its cable and the ship can get underway under its own power.
So did they make the canal that narrow, or did they make the ship this big? So which one was it?
Well, that's a good question, because when we were going through on our cruise ship, the expansion of the width of the locks was under construction, and the large ship that we saw, or you referred to in the Suez Canal, probably would not fit through those locks because it would be too wide. The ship would be too wide. So in order to accommodate the demand for more freight movement around the world, ships are growing bigger to be more efficient, and as a result, the canals have got to accommodate them.
Right. This is just the right fit. I don't think anyone can fall off from the side.
Well, there may be 12 inches to share. So if you go down to the right angle, you might just slip down. I don't think I'd want to try.
Yeah. Well, you probably will be pretty slim as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Next shot I have is a long shot of the overall canal, and with the construction on the side. This is pretty developed. I've never been to Panama before, so seems like it's a very busy place with the suspension bridge at the back and so on.
And the brown pile of earth on the left is part of the expansion work, and there are tiny machines and people. In this view, at this distance, they look like little ants. But the thing that struck me was the size of the job and the effort that these little ants were taking to cut through the mountain range. And
so when they're cutting through the mountain range, are they expanding the canal that way?
They make it wider, yes.
Okay.
Because you can see that big green hill in the distance, right in the middle. And on the left of it, there's another hill which isn't in the camera shot, but that has to be widened as well in many cases because it's extremely narrow.
Amazing. I believe we have some questions. Is that right, Jer? Do we have some questions?
We have tons.
And we have tons. Okay. Let's tackle some questions. Go ahead, Jer.
Okay, so I was wondering that when the big ship passed through the canal, the tiny boat in front of it, is the big boat has the engine on or off?
Okay, so let me repeat this question for all our viewers. So when the tugboats are pulling the huge ship behind them, is engine on or off for the big ship?
The big ship engine is off from the time it prepares to go into the lock until the time it exits at the upper level.
Oh, that makes sense because you don't want to step on the gas accidentally and just
Well,
crash through the gates.
The science of steering a large ship requires the water to flow quickly over the rudder. And unless it's moving quickly, the rudder can have no effect.
Oh, interesting. Oh, you seem to be very knowledgeable about boats. Is that one of your passion?
Yes, I was an avid disabled sailor and had a small boat, and we used in the lake in Ottawa.
Oh,
And
cool.
we were able to compete in the weekly races with the other
Oh, that's amazing.
able-bodied members of the sailing club.
Well, I didn't know that part about you. So, of course, Mr. Tom Parker is also one of our board of directors here at RCD, and his passion in sailing and ships and so on is just tremendous. If you get a chance, if you want to learn more about that, yeah, you can go ahead and email him. Next question.
And it's from Ella again. So, how long does it take to pass through the entire canal?
Oh, very good question. How long does it for a ship to go through the entire canal?
I think it's easily done in one day. For small ships, like small private craft, the kind that people have in their summer cottage, they can go through the locks as well, but they wouldn't have the speed of a large freighter in the lake. So, and there are places where you can stay in the lake overnight,
Okay. Now,
but
you
nobody
s-
would get off the cruise ship in those places, except to visit some of the museums.
Interesting. So you say the whole day? Like it takes the entire day for the ship to go
Oh,
through
yes.
it?
Yes, you're going from one side of a continent to the other side of a
Right.
continent. Doing it in one day is amazing.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Like I think Ella was thinking, oh, this is just like going through the Massey Tunnel.
No,
Any more questions?
Yes, Jimmy is wondering that does every ship that pass through the canal has to pay the fee?
Oh, the
Oh,
fee.
yes.
Oh, what's the fee for going through a canal like this?
well, put it this way. It's very, very much cheaper than having the ship with all of its precious, expensive cargo direct its course around the tip of South America. So yes, there is a payment to the country of Panama, which they use to help make improvements and maintain the canal.
And do you know how much
No,
like the range
I'm
is?
sorry.
Oh, okay.
You can probably Google that. They'll
Okay.
immediately have the answer for you.
Okay, no problem. Good question. I love these questions that's going through in chat. And do I see a question about mosquitoes?
Yes.
Yeah, Jared, go ahead.
Yes. Dora is wondering that is there a lot of mosquitoes on the Panama Canal?
Are there, so the question is, are there a lot of mosquitoes in this area, just in general?
It's very tropical. But being high up above the water on the deck of a cruise ship, for example, you're up in the breeze, and the mosquitoes don't like the distance from the ground nor the breeze.
Oh, interesting.
So-
So you don't, when you're on the ship, you don't feel as many. But when
You don't feel any, no.
Okay, so but when you actually land, if you actually
Yeah.
walk around,
Yeah.
then you
And they also have to watch out for the crocodiles on the beach if you're walking on the beach.
there are crocodiles on the beach.
Yes.
Well, I'm not walking there. I would certainly take a cruise there, but I'm not walking. Good question. Okay, so let us go back to the slides and then we'll tackle some more questions. Thank you for all your questions, folks. Keep them coming. And this is a great chance where we have Mr. Tom Parker to tackle all these problems with his expertise in sailing as well. Okay, so let me go back to the slide that we were just on. So this is the slide, just a long shot of the canal with the construction going on the left side. And so this is the same ship that went through it, that was ahead of you, right?
Correct.
Okay, very good. And now I can see like suspension bridge. This looks a very fancy suspension
This
bridge.
is a very new bridge at the time we went down on the cruise. and it links the north and south side of the canal,
Okay.
and was very nearly completed by the time we went under it.
So tell me, is Panama as a country considered like a very developed, advanced country, or is it a developing country?
It's very small, and it has a small agricultural resource supply for its native occupants, and the business economy is subsidized to some extent by the revenue from the canal. But you can live a very normal North American life in Panama City.
And this next slide I have is probably one of the tourism spots, right? The tourist attraction.
This
right?
is a very large blue mosquito on my elbow. It's actually a parrot. And we were at one of the stops where the cruise ship allowed us to disembark. And the parrot was very welcoming to tourists. And I couldn't resist experiencing something chew my hat.
That's amazing. Does this one talk?
I didn't try, I'm sorry. Most of them do. Awesome. And if you go to Queen Elizabeth Park here in Vancouver, you can speak to them in Spanish or in English, and probably French as well.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, parrots are amazing creatures. So you also picked up a little toy when you were at Panama, right? So
I'll give you the sound of something that attracted my attention. In the area where the parrot was, there was also a flea market. And my wife and I were walking past the flea market, and I heard this sound. And I was looking around. There was no puddles for the frogs to be in. And I saw someone sitting in the booth selling things. And she caught my eye. And I could see by the big grin that she knew I had heard this little frog. And I'll hold it up to the camera here.
Sure. Yeah.
Because it's quite attractive, and it really was something I wanted to bring home for my nieces and nephews.
Very nice.
It's
entirely made of wood?
Yes, it's a
Very
hollow wooden box,
Nice.
which is curved to look like a
frog.
frog.
So we can turn it down a little bit. Here you go. Right there. So it's shaped like a frog.
Yeah,
Cool. Very nice.
couldn't resist it. Those flea markets are pretty tricky people.
So there was a flea market in this area. So
Yes.
were there a lot of tourists during the time that when you went?
Of course, because they wait eagerly for the cruise ships to arrive. And on our ship there was close to 2,000 passengers. So this is a big rush of business.
Oh, okay.
And your ship may stop there for a couple of hours.
Yep,
and
good
this-
chance to do business for sure.
Do you want to introduce the next photo,
Yep.
or shall I?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
This reminds me of our stop in Aruba, and we see the colonial type of architecture that was built by the first settlers. And some of the other buildings are much more modern, and in fact, just around the corner from this one was a Royal Bank of Canada. So money from all over the world is welcome in these tourist locations.
So this is Spanish design, is that right?
I believe so,
Okay.
because it's just off the north coast of South America. And Venezuela, I believe, is Spanish,
Right.
where other parts of South America may be Portuguese.
That's right. Yeah. Awesome. So I noticed that they actually designed a ram here in the front of the building.
Of course.
Is that a common thing that you see, for example, in Panama?
Well, you see it in most tourist destinations. So regardless of where you go on a cruise ship, you can expect to be able to get off and on the ship. Depending on weather conditions, it may not be able to tie up with the dock, but there are small excursion boats that can come out and load you on and take you from the ship to the dock.
Amazing. Such a busy place. So the next one I have is a map of where your cruise ship stopped by. What was the city that you started from? Was it here?
Well,
or?
we started from Los Angeles,
Oh, Los Angeles. Okay.
and the map is north is at the top, and the red line shows the course that our cruise ship took. So you can see that it stopped several times before getting to the Panama Canal as we proceed towards the bottom of the map. And then we go north up into the canal, and then we turn right and go across and touch in Venezuela, I believe. What's the name of that city? I can't read it from here.
The one on the right side?
Yeah, just above the right.
Aruba? Or the one before that?
No, before that.
Before that is Cartagena?
Cartagena.
Cartagena, okay.
Yeah. That's a historic.
Pardon my Spanish.
Sorry, I'm not multilingual as many people here in RCD are, but Cartagena was a large fortress that was built by the Spanish,
Okay.
and is an extremely interesting place to visit. And the ship stops for a whole day there.
Fantastic.
And then it proceeds a little further to the east. And I think, did you have a photo of any other photos of Aruba?
This is the last one
Okay.
from Panama. Yeah, because unfortunately we just we may be running out of time very soon.
Okay.
We're almost hitting our 30th minute mark.
Okay.
So
Are there any more questions?
yeah, let's do some questions and then we can go to Hawaii.
Sure.
Okay, let's do that. So Jared, go ahead.
So Wilson is wondering that is the Panama Canal is just in the middle at the Atlantic Ocean to Pacific.
Okay, so let me repeat that. So Wilson is wondering, the Panama Canal, does it just connect the Pacific and Atlantic?
Yeah, that interesting choice of words, just connect.
It's a big
Because-
task, yes.
Because in order to do just connect, you have to go up steep hills and mountains on the Pacific side and go down on the other side to the Atlantic. And fortunately, there's a lake in the middle which provides water to take the water steps up through the locks and down through the locks at the other side.
Awesome. I think we're just experiencing some connectivity issues. So we can keep going. We can keep going through the slides. It should be recorded, but just folks on the live chat, they may not be able to communicate with us real time. So
Okay.
let me see. Seems to be not connecting at all. But we'll just keep going for now. Okay. So, okay, should be back on, Jer. So if you wait a couple more seconds. Yeah, folks, we seem to be experiencing some connectivity issues. So we'll wait till this photo gets on, and we know that we're back on. So this next part is Hawaii. So which part of Hawaii did you go to?
We went on this particular trip to the Big Island, which is the one which has a very active volcano and also has a very high mountain, an extinct volcano, where there are many international observatories for examining the universe surrounding the Earth.
So the Big Island where you have the active volcano.
Yes.
Okay. So was there a particular reason why you chose to visit Big Island instead of the other islands?
We had been to the other islands, initially going to the ever popular Honolulu on Oahu, but it's very commercial and very high paced. It was like experiencing the Pacific National Exhibition, the PNE, right outside the hotel.
That's true.
And it's high energy, and the other islands were much less hectic, and particularly the Big Island is much more relaxed. And in the picture that I anticipate you're showing soon, it's Christmas time when we were there, and they were serving special Christmas orange juice from the bar.
Christmas orange juice.
Well, it appears to be orange, so I would assume it would be an orange drink in midday.
This looks nice. Like I can use a drink like that right now. All right, so let's see. The next one that I want to show is, it seems like you are pointing down below onto something. There's trees on one side, and then all of a sudden there's no more trees. So I noticed that this is a very interesting a picture. So this is probably very delayed right now, so you can look at my screen, Tom.
Okay.
Here.
So the visit following having a drink was up to the active volcano on the east side of the Big Island, and I'm looking over the side from the viewing area down into the volcanic crater.
Okay.
And the smoke is rising, and it was quite exciting to see this activity from the core of the Earth.
So it's an active volcano.
It is.
And there's smoke actually coming out.
There is, and at the time there was also lava flowing into the ocean
I see.
a little bit further to the east.
So the next slide here, I have the two gentlemen with you with a funny looking robot. Can you tell us about that?
Well, this robot was quite intriguing, and they were, when I went over and expressed my interest, they informed me that they were scientists from Hungary in Europe, and that they were testing this robot rover on the floor of the volcano because the rough terrain is quite similar to the part that they were hoping to be able to cope with when that robot was landed on the moon.
Oh, okay.
So it was a lunar rover being prepared for the European Space Agency.
Oh, very cool. So this will actually go into space and onto the moon one day.
Or something very like it.
Something.
And we've seen those on the NASA
Okay.
videos.
Very cool. Thank you. And this next shot I have is the loving couple having fun in front of the volcano. Isn't that scary? Please talk about this.
You can see the smoke rising from the volcano, but how many times in one's life do you get to visit a volcano?
That's true.
And it was a very significant experience. And like with so many things on these travels, the unexpected comes along, like the moon rover, or the parrot landing on your arm, or the little wooden frog speaking to you from the store. So these kinds of things are what really makes the trip quite exciting.
Right. It's like the interaction with the locals or just other fellow travelers that makes the trip even more spectacular.
Exactly.
You know, it's already amazing looking at this volcano, and it's active. I would be scared, but just talking to these scientists, wow, that really touch your heart somehow.
Very
right?
unexpected extra.
Yes, unexpected extra. That's right. So this next one we have. So now we're on to something more fun, more appetizing. Can you please talk about this particular photo where this gentleman is putting leaf on top of something?
Yes. They're cooking the dinner for the guests at the hotel where we were staying. And the big ring of stone is surrounding an earthen pit. And in the middle of that pit is a deep hollow into which very hot rocks have been placed. And then on top of the rocks, there have been banana leaves, and then there's a huge side of pork underneath the green leaf in the middle. And it's being steamed and cooked by the hot stones down below. And when the final green leaf is placed, the whole thing will be buried in sand. and it remains buried for several hours until the meat thermometer tells us that it's cooked.
Oh, very cool.
A traditional way of cooking.
Interesting. So it takes only two guys. So I can see two gentlemen working
Yes.
very hard, just two of them to prepare the whole meal.
Well, I'm sure they have helpers as well. But this type of cooking is commonplace in many old cultures. For example, on the west coast of Vancouver Island,
Okay.
the Haida Gwaii people would cook in hollowed logs with water in the bottom, and then put the hot rocks so that you could steam and cook it right in there.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Next photo I have is you on a very interesting wheelchair.
Ah, yes, we were at a historic village on the Big Island, and a very sandy beach, which I was unable to use in my regular wheelchair because the sand was so soft that my wheels would dig in and I just couldn't move. But like many beaches where tourists are welcomed, there was this adapted wheelchair frame. And I don't know if the picture clearly shows the large front wheels. They're almost the size of an ATV,
Yeah, they're big.
which could get you through the mud. And they're within reach so that I can propel it myself. Or there's also handles on the back which permit this to move on the beach as well as to go into the water.
Interesting. So tell me, now what happens that when just a regular wheelchair go onto the sand? What does that do? Is there a negative impact on that?
Well, the sand is very gritty, and because the wheels are small, they dig down into it, and that makes the grit get into the wheel bearings possibly,
Okay.
and can create damage to the wheels.
Okay. And the salt water doesn't help at all.
Well, and if you take your chair into salt water, your normal wheelchair, not only do the wheels potentially suffer damage, but also the upholstery. And the salty water in a very humid climate can result in mold within a few days.
I see. Well, this is a very thoughtful idea where they design a special on the beach kind of wheelchair so that you can also go on it.
And it's not unique to the Big Island. Many of the recreation areas on the beach have state-supplied or park-supplied equipment like this.
Awesome. All right, so this is a shot of you in a hotel, is that right?
So you can
This one
see-
right here. This one. You can
Oh
look at my
yes.
screen.
So this is the hotel where we stayed on the Big Island, and it's right on the edge of the ocean. And I'm on the patio, which is large enough, wide enough for my chair to maneuver. And we would have our morning coffee and breakfast out there. And on the left side of the photograph, there's a little doorway with a ramp that permits easy, safe access from the height of the floor inside the unit to the patio.
Yes, I believe it was Eileen who went to Mexico, and she, like, her own hotel room had a ramp like this, and then she went to, I think it was on a cruise ship, and then she went to her friend's room to
Yes.
have a visit, and then she just assumed that there was also a ramp,
And without
and
looking,
there wasn't, and then that's how she got into a little accident, and that's how she had to stay in the hospital
That's
for a
right.
bit. So stuff like that, please be careful, because one room, they made it one way, doesn't mean that it applies to all the rooms.
and not all sidewalks are made the way they are in Richmond. And in Mexico particularly, some of the curbs can be many feet high. And you've got to look for a ramp to get up onto the top, and then you can go up a ramp to the top of that 8-foot high sidewalk. So, but you got to be very careful not to wheel off the side.
That's true. That's true. Thank you, Tom. Next shot I have, I think you're in some kind of observatory. You got like a very strange thing in front of you. What is
That's
that
right. I
thing?
referred to the other volcano we visited on the Big Island. It's the one where international observatories, countless of these observatories, are on the top of the mountain. The air is very, very clean, very clear, and gives wonderful viewing of space.
Oh,
And
right.
at this location, at this time, there's a star party.
A star party.
So there are multiple telescopes set up
Oh.
for tourists to use and to chat with the knowledgeable people who are there. And that we find is one of the advantages of going with a group, because there are experts there to tell you what you're seeing and to point out things about the canal or about the city where you visit and the fort is there, etc.
Very cool.
And these experts are quite invaluable to travel.
So I noticed on in this particular picture, this is in Hawaii, but it seems like you have this huge jacket on and you're wearing gloves. Was it cold up there?
Well, we're very, very high up. We're about a mile above sea level,
Okay.
and the air is thin. As a result, it's clear sky, and a clear sky over a desert or a high elevation can get very, very cold at night.
Very cool. Okay, I think we are running out of time, but we will do a wave of questions before we wrap up. So, Jer, do we have any questions?
Yes, it's refer back to the one that we have the big sandy, and then two guys are
Oh, the
wearing
luau.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
And I was wondering that is that warm or cold, because it seems like Tom wearing more than the gentleman's. And then, yeah.
So you're referring to the picture that I was just showing with the
beach buggy.
The beach.
Yeah.
So what was your question again, Ian?
So
The weather is like
What-
warm or cold.
yeah, was the weather warm or cold in Hawaii? It should be warm, right?
Well, it was very warm, except when you get to the top of the mountain.
Oh,
That's right. So yeah, so I was asking because in the previous picture where Tom was wearing like a big jacket with gloves on, so I imagine because they're so high up, that's why it's so cold. But in the previous picture, yep, Hawaiian shirt, that's what I would do too. And that's what I'm wearing as well, and this one as well. And then these guys, I think they're just working. They're also wearing short sleeves, so I think it should be pretty warm. And especially they're pretty much in the middle of an oven.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so they should be the hottest there. Cool. Next question.
Wilson is wondering that is all this photo taken from the Big Island in Hawaii?
So everything is all these pictures
all
from
of these,
Big Island.
All of these photos are from the Big Island, yes.
Okay, so this is all from the Big
So
Island.
we've got a direct flight to Honolulu and then a connecting flight to the Big Island
Interesting.
where we rented an automobile.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you. Any more questions?
It's just a general question that from Ella, that when pandemic is over or getting better, that which place or country that Tom wants to go travel?
Oh, so when the pandemic is all over, Tom, which place do you want to go travel next?
Well, I think my first trip will be from the north end of Vancouver Island to Prince Rupert on the BC Ferry, because it goes up the inside passage. But if you drive your automobile onto the ferry, you arrive in Prince Rupert just as the sun is going down. You stay there in that city overnight, and then you can drive on across British Columbia all the way to Edmonton, or you can turn at Prince George and come down the Fraser Valley. And that would be my first trip. The second one would probably be an Alaska cruise,
Alaska.
because there's so many interesting villages to visit.
Oh, good stuff. Keep it going, Tom. Keep it going. And I'll be here at RCD. Next question.
I think Tom is asking, Tom from RCD staff,
Okay.
he's wondering that because City of Richmond claimed that we are being the most accessible city, like how would Tom Parker to comment on it?
Okay, so one of the question is, City of Richmond is accessible. Do you feel that it has that level of accessibility in your standard?
I think as a tourist and as a resident in many parts of Canada, the traditional buildings in the old part, the east of Canada, often had steps at the entrance. But particularly where tourists are likely to be visiting, the businesses are very interested in being able to encourage participation by the tourist, as well as enjoy their expense contribution when they come into the flea markets or the other shops. So yes, it's quite good.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like Richmond, especially because of the geography of it too, it's so flat. I think that just adds to the bonus of accessibility, and I do feel the city of Richmond is fairly accessible compared to other cities. Mm-hmm. Okay, you know what? I think this is all the time we have. We hit the longest mark. We are at the 46th minute of our stream. Wow, with you here, Tom, we can go all day. But folks, I think this is time for us to wrap up. Thank you for joining us today. And next week, we will have a new topic. Check back again. I usually leave a little hint in our YouTube homepage, and you can see the poster. And folks, I'm just going to stop right here, and I'll see you all next week. Bye. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for
Thank you, Ian.
coming on today. Have a good one. I'll see you all next week.